Man, that is an emotional song right there. Welcome back to another chapter of Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks Part 2. Last time, our team just got ambushed by the Shadow Priests and they took Smoke prisoner to Kahn's fortress. Well, Liu Kang just came around at the bell tower and reunited with Rain and had a lethal fight with him. Fortunately, he was strategic enough to use Rain's elemental abilities against him and save Kitana. Unfortunately, due to the damage, the bell tower was collapsing, but luckily, Jax, Sonya, and Asgarth came to their aid. And so Asgarth warned that, with Earthrealm merging with Outworld, there's not much time left. And with the merger complete, Kahn would have absolute power, almost be invincible, while Raiden is forever powerless, and there's no hope for both realms. And Kitana mentioned Motaro as Kahn's elitist generals of the extermination squads. So, I'm gonna switch gears to the main team now. Alright, hold on one sec. I kinda got caught off guard, so bear with me. Here we are. Last respite. The quartet headed across the bridge. Dawn began to show its goldenrod sky while the sun rose and shed its light on the abandoned buildings. They were war-torn. Some of the windows were shattered, but, it's technically Chicago, I think. Jackson broke the silence. I can give 9 lives for this salvage mission, and it still won't be enough. Just be grateful we're still alive, Jax. Unlike before, he's decided to gear up as he wore a red and black armored vest to protect his chest, as well as the pair of sacred gauntlets, which were said to be passed down by the great Kung Lao. Much like his sweatband, he dearly needed all the enhancements from those unfortunate, shocking experiences after he fought off Rain. Yeah. Just the thought of living through death irritated Sonya as she wished she wouldn't have lost Johnny. The team abruptly stopped while Kitana pointed up to the massive swirling portal. From a great distance there were some black sinister clouds above it, large lit fortress, with the tip of Kahn's crown. That must be the new dark fortress. Kahn is just ahead. Her face turned stern as her hand clenched into a fist as tight as Octopus's grip. I swear it. I'll put an end to the evil conqueror's reign. Liu went to her side and laid an assuring hand. I don't know why we can't use the dragon jet. That bird said it's around 100 miles away. There's the possibility we get shot down, Sonya. Kahn may be megalomaniacal, but not stupid. I don't think even our own army nor our air force would handle it. We can't count on that, nor risk on creating any more casualties. Let's get going. As the group trekked on, they heard a sudden, though subtle hissing noise. They knew it didn't belong to any kind of snake or reptile, at least not from Earth. Their guards skyrocketed, and a few could have sworn their hair stood up from their necks. A ball mutant snarled as he used his retractable arm blades. We got Baraka. 4 against 1? Bring it on! They were abruptly hit from above, also causing the same force as an airborne kick with the power of a squall. By the time they all came to, Kitana was outraged. It's my clone, Melina! She warned the agents, though Liu knew her all too well. He was surprised they hadn't encountered her during the previous trimester, even though she escaped while Jade was flued on top of the tower. Dear sister, remember me? How can I possibly forget an abomination like you, created by the demon sorcerer from the despicable flesh pits? You pathetic fleshlings never had enough skill to slay me like you all did with Jade. You shall be joining her quite shortly. My father and mother would be pleased." That put the Athenian in shock. "What? My mother? She's alive?" "Depends on what you mean by alive. She can just as much as a mutated corpse like Melina is. Hey, lay off Kitana. You're no different. We'll see to it that Kahn is destroyed." Baraka advanced with his fatal blades. "This is the Conqueror's highway. I am making a final warning for you to make way. Even if you won't survive here, I'm certain you'll see our proud parents again." "Lu, Kitana, watch your six!" The agents witnessed some more Tarkatans march up the rear. While they got their hands full, Kitana took on Melina while Lu faced Baraka. It was a 2-on-2 battle, and Baraka remembered the monk, along with Kung Lao. They were the ones responsible for killing him and destroying the soul tombs. Literature and his clan were the culprits in slaughtering many innocent monks, even using them as fiery weapons, or when they invaded the Wuxi Academy soon after the victory in Shang Tsung's island. And he's contrary to another RPer I used to know, Baraka. We were such good friends until the damn fallout. The gauntlets and armor in his possession, Lu became more resistant. Like I said, I'm not very good at combat. Baraka's bloodthirst and deadly advances didn't provide a lot of width. His own pyrokinesis was barely a standoff, if not repelled some of them with his cross swords. Baraka even resisted his flying kick with his cross swords and left the monk defenseless after the recoil. With those flaws, Luke decided to up the ante by increasing his temperature, making his pyrokinesis more powerful. This seemed to have worked, as he watched oil dripping, which had turned out to be Baraka's arm blades. With no defense, Baraka became more aggressive. They both kept lunging at each other, though Lu's armor nearly cushioned every blow. Despite having the two blades, he still used them, trying to cut his enemy down to size, even pinning him to the pavement, hoping his fangs shall tear his opponent. Lu's legs were flexible. Thankfully, the Tarkatan had no armor. There was little endurance on his vulnerable chest. Lu made the legendary bicycle kick, which forced Baraka onto a metallic guardrail. With an empowered flying kick, the monk sent his assailant over. Baraka screeched as he plummeted to the murky water 50 feet below. This would have been like the cry of Jasper Bastard Jr. Kitana had her fans full with the menacing doppelganger, half Tarkatan, half Edenian. And so, blah blah, I don't want to read this. The fans weren't resistant as Melina curled her body rapidly and hurled those deathly rolls forward, similar to a certain cartoonish hedgehog. I'm sure you know the reference. "Kitana! Aim for her!" Her voice became muffled as she, Jax, and Lu were bombarded by the Tarkatans. She then had an epiphany after several blows. If that monstrosity is truly my double. She managed to send sonic waves from her rapidly spinning fans, causing Melina to falter. She advanced and began to tear her long bare legs. So, it was the same genes that made her oh so raw, malicious, and having an insatiable appetite for blood, meat, and destruction. Kitana almost wished that if Melina was truly her sister, she'd have a benevolent soul like hers and her deceased parents. Sindel momentarily entered her mind, putting the air out in the open. Melina resumed her slow torture. Sonya noticed the commotion behind her, and as soon as there was an opening, she fired toward the corrosive clone with her pink energy waves, which actually reduced her disgusting corpse into a crumbling pile of ashes. "Thanks, Sonya. Honor should not always be owed, but I feel I shall give it back my utmost gratitude." "No need, Kitana. We're both on the same team here." Ah, that should hold them. Jax rose from a dead Tarkatan and winced as his tiresome arms were getting strained. They saw an extermination squad of even more power-hungry Tarkans and Centaurs. Jax declared there were too many, so he ordered his comrades to go to the other side, then used his brute strength, and after raising them and conjuring as much might as he could, he did just that and made the so-called durable bridge foundation collapse and kill off the advancing army. They then saw and felt lightning rip across the sky where the red and black clouds hung over. That's definitely Shao Kahn's lair. Let's move! Sub-Zero became more desperate on rescuing Smoke as he was pacing around while the Allies were stationed smack dab in the subway tunnels. I cannot lose him a third time! Sub-Zero became more desperate on rescuing Smoke as he was pacing around while the Allies were stationed smack dab in the subway tunnels. I cannot lose him a third time! Never again! Shao Kahn takes no prisoners. He's out there, and I need to go find him. Sub-Zero! Stryker laid a strong grip. We'll find him. Shao Kahn has taken prisoners before, with Sonya and Kano during the second tournament, so I've heard. The secondary squad decided to hide beneath the desolate streets. Cabal suggested to get some R&R within the abandoned tunnels, the same cover he and Stryker used. As the team settled with a hideout under Cabal's discretion, some of the members became restless while others were fatigued. A few of the combatants wide awake happened to be Kung Lao, Aiko, and Nightwolf, whom the latter was lighting a dried-up oil drum. Through the darkness, as the orange glow illuminated her face, Kung Lao then saw her sulking, hardly saying a word. He walked up to her and sat down. He noticed she looked vacant, distant. Aiko? Are you all right? No, Kung Lao. I'm still thinking of the future. Yours? My past hadn't changed at all during the Earthrealm invasion. Almost as if it was just a temporary gruesome storm. I know we can win this, but... Kung Lao, you and many others, had lost so much since I was too young to try anything. I was only a kid, and there was nothing I could have done. My dormant powers haven't been awakened, and you and the majority of us had transformed into mindless revenants. Only Raiden, your nephew, Sonya, Johnny, and I survived the ordeal. Sub-Zero's role was reversed with Smoke's as he remained human. The rest didn't make it. Just the 5 of us survived? That's all? She was too depressed. Lau pressed on. Aiko, you must tell me. What has happened to us? How did we all turn ourselves into the undead serving evil? This is insane! Starting to doubt Aiko's past involving her dystopian future, he queried how it all started, why and how so many warriors had fallen and became nothing but undead slaves. Aiko then figured she'd need to perform a ritual of sorts to make Lao see everything that had transpired. She had a feeling it wasn't entirely Kahn's doing. Aiko, it can be done, thanks to your cardiokinesis, and others can see what you saw, using your heart as a sort of conduit. But you're playing a very dangerous game. What you've been through was indeed traumatic, remembered Raiden, saying he and Lao were only her anchors, both acting as guards for a fragile mind and heart working in sync. Aiko then retorted, blaming Raiden for everything, though Lao doubted it. He may have made some questionable mistakes during the second tournament and the journey into Outworld. To be fair, he was only disguised as Shang Tsung underneath the monks' noses, though the pacifist could never turn his back on his lifelong mentor. He has been almost like a father to us Shaolin monks, even creating the White Lotus Society, and even to my lost ancestor too. That didn't assure her. She hung her head, feeling as low as a snake's body. He then offered to see her mind on what she saw and felt. Nightwolf had seen some unfortunate shamans go through it. He warns this could be a one-way trip, as if his partners experience the same apocalypse, he won't be the same. Do you have courage enough to endure this task? You wish to proceed? Kung Lao looked at Aiko, then he nodded. Shaman instructed her on using her cardiokinesis onto him, while still holding onto thoughts from her bleak future. With a shaky hand as weak as gripping a fish, she reached and touched Lao's warm heart. With a shaky hand as weak as gripping a fish, she reached and touched Lao's warm heart, and he did the same to hers in an earnest clutch, causing a jolt of energy run up their arms. Both participants began to slowly close their eyes as they gazed at each other, then slumped as they drifted 16 years later, which is actually the aftermath of MK9 and 10. Visions of the downfall for many combatants flashed through their minds. Lao saw himself with Liu Kang as they traversed through Outworld, with the latter wearing his body armor and gauntlets passed down by their ancestor. I worded it wrong. By the time they finally reached Kahn's arena, things were different. He then had fragments in fighting Shang Tsung, Kintaro, and some pale and bold sorcerer, winning over 3 evildoers on his own. Liu Kang was able to save Kitana from the Emperor's imprisonment. However, I should play a clip of this. You hear that, Raiden? Earthrealm is free! That was when the nightmares began. He and Aiko saw Lao's younger self have his neck twisted from behind by Shao Kahn. Kung Lao! No! Raiden was unable to stop Liu Kang as the monk advanced toward the Emperor, at a darker, higher place, having the god's lightning scorch through his soul as he was building up his pyrokinesis. After he collapsed in his destroyed heap, he weakly muttered that Raiden had killed them all, and the sober observers witnessed Sindel screech and stun nearly all the heroes. Nightwolf literally exploded while he caught the corrupt queen. After all, the warriors, but Raiden, Johnny, and Sonya were assassinated almost seamlessly. They then saw the same creepy Blanche Conjurer again, leading an army of mindless, rotted thugs, consisting of the doomed warriors, including Kitana, Liu Kang, Nightwolf, Striker, Cabal, Kung Lao, and several others as they destroyed the world with an ultra-powerful elder god in bright robes. While Kuai Liang was at the Cyber's mercy as Smoke, still remaining as human, escaped. Wow, the roles were reversed. Then Lao had horrific visions of himself dying in various terrifying ways, whether it be the Conqueror throwing his own hat to his chest, causing it to bleed profusely at his arena, tossing him and his hat off a boat and letting him drown in a sea of blood, or having his soul abruptly stolen while being strangled by Shang Tsung. As Raiden scorched the fallen soldiers, Lao then heard an intimidating voice, in which he assumed it belonged to Kahn, who survived all this time. I should play a sound effect of that or whatevs. Kung Lao and Aiko both startled and immediately broke off their hold. Both heroes were exasperated, and she barely had enough emotional stamina to apologize. All the pseudo-cowboy did was just watch her getting more distraught. She gradually broke into tears, saying she couldn't go through with Kahn's invasion. She even stated that it wouldn't make a single iota of a difference if they would. That it won't guarantee a single victory, as Earthrealm will still be in peril, no matter who it was or how many times they'd save it. Lao was beginning to feel the same angst as her, as if his own anxieties weren't bad enough on enduring the ageless curse, in which he was never informed of, and having the burdens on carrying his ancestors' legacy and being overmatched. Can you blame this guy? After seeing some powerful sorcerers he'd never encountered before, he seemed dumbfounded, such as the mysterious pale and bald monster, or the tall, intimidating wizard with blanched blue skin and long colorful robes as they each entered his mind. Aiko, you must focus on what is happening, here and now. Don't let your destroyed time cloud you and Kung Lao's judgment. Not yet. I can't, Nightwolf. I just can't. This made her shed a few tears. She really wanted to go with Kung Lao and become a member of the White Lotus Society, and rebuild a brighter future once they should win over the invasion. But all she saw and felt was everlasting darkness and destruction. Lao continued to watch her, then he just slowly held her. Aiko, he whispered into her ear, and somehow it gave her some comfort, both his voice and touch. She hadn't been held by someone in eons, even during the end of the 90s when she lost her mom by a brutal thief. Their hearts began to beat as one. Slowly, with their hearts mingling, Aiko and Kung Lao moved in unison, whether it be caressing, holding each other, or even giving each other a warm kiss and embrace. As they touched, their hearts melted. They figured they were beginning to meld. It was almost like they entered a sort of hypnosis like they would during meditation, or maybe as if they just became intimate in a spiritual sense. They each felt as if a great weight has been evaporated off their shoulders. For once, they began to feel what it was like to be loved and morally supported by someone. As they felt their strength leaving their vessels, they eventually slept in each other's arms. I love that scene, by the way. Kung Lao definitely deserves to be loved. I mean, canonically. Hours later, the combatants arose one by one, and Aiko and Kung Lao were the last to awaken. Nightwolf even made a comment that after their hearts melded, they slept like the dead. Hold up, we got company, 10 o'clock. Stryker immediately took out his baton facing the scuffling of feet. Everyone was alarmed they were found by one of Kahn's extermination squads, whether it be their hearts pounding or a breath caught in his or her own throat. Each hero became battle-ready, while Aiko just stood behind the protective monk. Their eyes adjusted amongst the dark corner, seeing a small ball of flame. No need to be on high alert, Liu Kang said and blew out the ember as soon as he breached into the light. It's just us. Everyone was glad to see Liu Kang, Kitana, Sonya, and Jax, especially Kung Lao, who smiled warmly and bowed low to his Shaolin partner. For once, the strict officer grinned. Well, looks like we're finally getting our team back together. The defenders of Earth were finally complete, excepting Cage's untimely absence. Most of the warriors sobered, as the Special Forces agents summarized the Los Angeles assault. The quartet quickly recapped everything up to the fights with Rain, Baraka, and Melina. Kitana mentioned Asgarth was with them, though he decided to part ways and assist Raiden on guarding over the Sky Temple. Wait, the Sky Temple? The highest peak housing Earthrealm's Jinsei? The same. There's not much life left. The merged without world is literally sucking away the planet's vitality. I can't imagine what it'll be of Raiden and Earthrealm once it's been completed. Shao Kahn's power would be infinite. Time is not on our side here. And Raiden, there's so little time left. Whatever time we have now, we must use well. Are we really ready to die here? If we do perish, we would certainly die in battle. In unison. Sub-Zero's voice was usually apathetic, but everyone felt his cold message, even when shivers went down their spines. They must embrace the horror as one, even Aiko, who was the most sensitive, most emotionally. Within a few moments, to gather themselves and conjure their inner strength, each of the combatants, led by Liu Kang and Kung Lao, marched out of hiding and into uncertain death. Ooh, thank God I'm done with this. The way I see it is that when Aiko should use her heart meld, it'd be similar to the Vulcan mind meld. Having a similar process like intimacy, transfer emotions and thoughts, as well as the recipient being affected by them, and just seeing and feeling the transfer. There'd be some questionable after effects too, the same way other recipients had endured. Almost like how Titus and Yuna began to have their own love scene. I like that, by the way. And to all you haters, fuck off. It was tough making the Tarkatan battles, had bits and pieces of ideas like fighting on the bridge, knocking Baraka off, and having Lena fight her pure half. But I didn't want to kill off the true Tarkatan. He has received a lot of abuse and deaths from the snobby, neglectful, and greedy creators already. Seriously, dying after winning all the way and perishing constantly? I feel sorry for who's dubbed as the biggest loser in Mortal Kombat history, as said by Underdog. Baraka was awesome since his debut after all. I hate all the debts the corrupt NetherRealm developers forced onto Kung Lao. All they see him is some miserable goddamn punching bag and never the iconic, inspiring, benevolent Shaolin monk. Ever since Midway bit the dust and the asinine alternate timeline existed, I always saw him get fucking murked. As if Ed Boon and his golden team have zero respect for their characters. God, I wish John Tobias was involved in Mortal Kombat again before he left in 1999. And I despise the piss-poor development teams as well as the fucked-up alternate reality. I swear I felt like Marty McFly traveling to the alternate 85, ruled by Biff with an iron fist. In case you don't know, please pay heed to the vid by Underdog, the greatest downfall in Mortal Kombat history. I hate NetherRealm and their revamped timeline as Chronica as bad as Solaris, which is one of the pushes on making this fic, and why I find the classic timeline to be more superior and nostalgic. In your faces. Finally, Aiko and Kung Lao had their chance to shine with their love and understanding, while exploring his own downfall, also pointed out by Underdog, as well as the fourth snake in Kung Lao's wasted potential. And here are the songs for that. Silence and atmosphere sometimes work hand in hand in a devastated place, like Hyrule and Ocarina of Time. And just a quick note, I wasn't a fan of Xenogears, so I'll play that song later. But Albedo, he has inspired me in a negative way to make the Sleepy Hollow one-shot Dreamscape. And it was all thanks to that collab from Josh Scorcher and Alex Rochon, the 15 disturbing bosses in non-horror games. I don't recommend those hotheads at all. But I found the emotional theme, which I'll play later, to be fitting for Aiko and Kung Lao's angst before the Defenders of Earth meet the Conqueror again. The final stretch would soon commence. Stay tuned. Until then, this is the Ecron Writer signing out, and sorry for the abrupt end. OBS Studios wasn't cooperating and I ran out of time. So, see you all later.